morning, everybody. You guys know who I am. I'm Nicole. I'm with WAHL Education and Artistic Team. And today I'm going to show you how to use the CHROMSTYLE German-made clipper. And we're going to be cutting Brittany's hair into an asymmetrical bob with some graduation and some layers. She needs the height. But first thing, the objective today is you got to know there's more than just your shears to work with, and there's more than just your razors. Okay? You guys know that it's really hard sometimes to get out of our comfort zone. So hopefully by the end of this class, you're going to feel a little more comfortable using a tool that you're not familiar with. First thing we're going to talk about is the comb. This is a WAHL clipper cutting comb. The reason why it is closed on one end is because that's your handle. It is not meant to be gripped tight. You know, it's not like, hey, let's get in there and comb this hair. It's meant to be held in a C shape. Very lightly, so I can go up and down. Okay. So, I have it offset. I just made a rectangular section back to the apex. And then on the side, if you notice, I went clear down to the nape area. So from the corner clear to the nape. The reason why I'm leaving this is how many of you have tried to cut a forward diagonal bob and you cut a hole right there? Because you've experimented on your client, your wigs, your mannequin, whatever, and you leave a little bit of a hole. If you leave this section down to the nape in with the front section, you are less likely to create a hole when you're creating your design. So, have those two sections sectioned out. Now I'm going to come here. Remember the rule, wherever you put your comb, your finger, your comb is always going to go there. You're always going to have that straight line. Want to make sure she's nice and wet. So I'm going to take my comb, clear to the tip of my finger, one time. My part's already straight. I don't have to come back and try to hold my comb like this and part it. Held it to the side, combed it down, pulled it apart. I have a nice straight part the first time, and I'm ready to section this hair up. Just a nice little twist. Clip it. And now I'm going to go across her occipital. Just straight across the back. So I have a small center section in the middle and one in the very nape area. So the first thing with this haircut that I'm going to do is I'm going to do my perimeter line. But what's the first thing that I should be doing? I'm going to give you guys permission to answer because that's more important to me. So, permission to answer. What's the very first thing you should do when you're cutting someone's hairline? Anybody? What? Bend their head down. What else should I be looking at? What should I be checking out? Anybody want to guess? What her hairline does, right? I need to know what this is going to do when I cut it short. Because if I'm not sure what's going to happen, then I'm going to be, I might cut it and it might wing out, it might cave in. So I've got to check out what her hairline's going to do. And for the most part, her hair just wants to come straight down, which is awesome. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab my CHROMSTYLE clipper. I have the all-purpose blade on it. It's just going to cut it just like, you can do this with any pair of clippers. I have the Sterling up here. Senior Reflections. I also have my Sterling Eclipse cordless razor. I can do the same thing. It's just how much power is behind it. This is very powerful. So with this, I'm going to be able to cut the hair faster, easier, quicker than if I were to use a lower powered clipper. Okay, so we're going to come in the center. We're going to do my guide. I'm going to take it. She said I could take it short. And I'm going to pressure cut. What's pressure cutting do? What's pressure cutting do? Helps it to bevel under. So I'm going to take it. Light taps. Sorry, is it getting you? Just tickle. And I'm going to make sure that I make a nice straight line. I'm going to grab my towel, get this hair off of her neck. Any other cleanup work I can also do at the end when I do my detailing, because that's the most important part, the details. So we're working on our perimeter. I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'm going to pick up the hair just a little bit and I'm going to take it off, just like I would do with my shears. Only I'm using the clipper straight through. Right? That's like a 0 degree elevation, maybe 5 degrees with the width of my finger being in there. Next thing I'm going to do is make my perimeter. Brittany said I can make her asymmetrical. Anytime you part the hair, you always want to make sure that you part according to the diagonal you want to cut. So if I was going to cut a reverse diagonal, I would part it away from the face. Because I want to make a forward diagonal, I'm going to part towards her face. So I'm going to take my subsection. Now I have this section here that I was worried about leaving, right? With the ear. And I'm going to part on the other side. Part towards her face. Flip it up. Now she's going to be asymmetrical because she parts her hair on the right side. Which side should be the longest? Right? This left side. So what we're going to do now, I'm still going to keep my all-in-one cutting blade. It's still set at the first notch. And I'm just going to do some brush cutting. So I'm going to turn her so you can see. If you can't see, feel free to move around. Feel free to like hop up if you guys can't see. I'm going to do a 0 elevation. Your fingers should maintain themselves by being parallel to your part. And I'm going to brush cut. Because what does that do to the ends? What do you think that's doing to the ends? Right. Making them naturally, if you can see what's happening already, they're wanting to come forward. So I'm just pulling it and pushing that hair forward. Again, fingers parallel to the part and pushing it forward. Notice her shoulder in my way, so I'm going to turn her and have her turn her head. That gets the shoulder out of the way. Anytime you're working on the side, you want to take the shoulder out of the way. Have them turn their head, keep their chin parallel to the floor. Come in. I'm just using the corner of the clipper. I'm not trying to get this entire blade to cut. It's just the edge. Just like if I was going to use any other tool, when you cut with your shears, you don't cut with the entire shear blade, it's the tip. If you use your feather razor, you don't cut with the entire feather blade, it's like the first 4 notches. Okay? So when you're cutting with this all-purpose blade, you're just going to cut with the very tip of it, and I'm just raking it across my fingers. Okay, so now I'm ready to do the other side. I'm going to have her turn her head. Again, maintain her head parallel to the floor. Because I want to have some length on this side, I'm going to direct everything back, but I'm still going to brush cut with the corner. So I want to maintain more length on this left side. All right, so now I'm ready to do my interior. So this is how easy this clipper is to use and to switch the blades so I can switch tools. All I have to do is put my thumbs on the end, pop it off. Switches off, and so now I'm going to put my all-in-one blade in. Same thing, it just attaches at the bottom. It's going to run the same. The cutting blade is what's moving. Based on the adjustments is going to be based on the tool that I'm using. The lower the tool, it's more like a texturizer. The higher, it's going to work more like the razor. So, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to section out this back section. She needs some graduation. Why do clients need graduation? What does graduation do? Create some shape, right? We could edit it. And I'm going to create my graduation and my stack so that I get some shape. And what I need to tell you is that the blade needs to be all the way set at 3 so that it's open. What I would call open. When the cutting blade is closer to the top, I call that closed. When you open it up, that's when it's going to cut like a razor. Let me tell you really quick, and I need to do an example on the board. When you cut hair, this is the shape of our hair, right? It's kind of cylinder like this, right? One individual strand magnified a million times. When you cut it with a razor, a standard straight razor, or what happens if not cut properly, you will deplete the end so it looks like that. So what happens to the hair? It gets a little frizzy, splits, right? When you cut with the all-in-one blade, you maintain as much structure and strengthen that hair, but you still get the texture and the wispiness and the movement that you need that style to have. So, when you cut it with the all-in-one blade, it cuts it like a pencil. So I have strength on both sides. I haven't carved half the cuticle out and depleted the structure or integrity of the hair. So that's a benefit of using the CHROMSTYLE all-in-one blade clipper. And also notice, because it's cordless, I'm not tied down. I've been all over this little area. I can walk from side to side. I'm not strangling her with a cord. But if I'm in the middle of a cut and I run out of juice, all I have to do is take my cord out of the charging box and plug it in, and my clipper's ready to go. There's no waiting time. Also, great thing is it doesn't have a battery like a cell phone. Cell phones, charge them, and if you charge them like every time they're barely charged, they seem to lose the battery really quickly. This does not do that. It charges completely back up each time, and you still have this beginning amount of time to work with it as the original time. So anyway, just a little lesson right there. So now let's go ahead and do the back. I'm going to work now just in my small subsection, creating my graduation. As if this was a standard razor. Those of you behind me, if you can't see, I'm going to ask you to move this way because I need to stand to the side. But I'm going to be using, what did I tell you guys about the tool? How much of the blade do you use? Corner, right? I don't need to try to attack it with the whole blade. I can, because I can come in here. If I want this hair to cup under a little bit more, I'm just going to come in and scoop that out, and that's going to make this hair cup under, right? Real light and easy. But right now I want to remove length, and to remove length I need to take shorter strokes as I'm working, because I don't want it to be flowy. If this was long, Elvira's hair, if I was going to cut some long flowy layers, I'm going to take longer, nicer strokes. And also notice how I'm holding the tool. The tool is going to move all the way around in my hands just like a pair of shears will. I might hold it with always with a thumb up. If I was doing a bald fade, I would hold it this way. Because it's a scooping motion, like you're throwing something over your shoulder. That's how you use a clipper. not like this. It's not fisted. It's not held super tight. You want to be able to make it flexible because I might need to come to the top and create some layers. And so I'm going to want to hold it what I would call more like a pencil. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a vertical subsection, using the corner, keeping my fingers at a 45. What's true with cutting with a razor? What's a true fact about cutting with a razor? You have to have tension on the hair. So I have a nice amount of tension on the hair while I'm cutting. My fingers are at a 45-degree elevation. Take my next subsection, let my guide drop. Now I'm going to work here. Now I have to be careful because where am I at? Right on my corner. So I'm going to take this slight section and direct it back to the previous section so I can maintain some integrity and some fullness towards the bottom. An A-line bob, whether you cut it with a shears or you cut it with a clipper or you cut it with an actual razor, you need to understand the importance of leaving some integrity in the perimeter of this haircut. So I'm going to go ahead and let down my next subsection. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to work left to right. This time, I'm going to let it drop, again, from the underneath. Take it off. Take it off. And what do I do at the corner? Slightly direct it back. Now because I'm removing length, and my model's hair she has such a nice texture, you can see my graduation, right? Can you see the shape already happening? Where it's going to cup in and where it's going to stay straight and fall around her neck. I might decide that I need to have it move just a little bit more. So when I'm doing that, I might need to do a little bit more detail work, and that's going to come at the end. So I'll show you how to do that with the clipper when we're finished. I'm going to go ahead, let this down. Same thing. Just a low 45. My fingers are at 45. The hair is probably, if you wanted to give it an elevation, the hair's projected out at like a low 45. With the CHROMSTYLE clipper and the on and off switch being right by my thumb, I have no problem turning it off and on in between sectioning. You don't want to keep it running while you're still combing the hair, because what can happen? Right? So let's go ahead and move. I'm going to have to move this way. That way she can see. I'm going to go ahead and move over. Is that okay? Look, we're just going to do real right now. I'm going to take this. I want it to have a nice forward swing. Okay, so what happens? Distance creates what? So I'm going to pull this hair back towards the back to the center so that it all flows together. There's nothing worse than when you see that asymmetrical haircut and you can tell like when it's pushed back over the back. I mean, now if it's extreme, that's one thing, but when it's not meant to be 6 inches longer than the very center in the back, there's no connection, there's no flow to it. So I'm going to take this section, I'm going to direct it back. My hand position is going to stay the same. I'm just going to come under and take it off. Take my next subsection, direct it back. Being sure to leave out the perimeter because I do not want to cut into my perimeter. What will happen if I cut into my perimeter too much? Right, I'm going to make a hole, I'm going to thin it out. I don't want to do that. With a little bit more length. And my last subsection, I'm going to pull it back. Now, my client and I had some consultation, and we did talk about what she does to her hair in the morning. So we make sure that we leave it workable. But can you see how the layers progress short to long? And it has some movement short to long. Because when she styles it, that's how I want it to flow. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to project it back. The rule still applies anytime you're cutting the hair. You should always make sure that it's wet. Not sopping wet, but definitely wet and damp. Now, I've already spoke with my model. I want to make this side more detailed and more piecey. So this is where I'm going to change the blade. I want it to be a little more feathery. So I'm going to adjust it not to the razor, but so that's going to cut more bulk off a little easier. I'm going to move it to a 2. I'm going to slide this around. I'm going to go even with her eye. I'm going to flip it around. Again, I'm not going to use the entire blade. I'm just going to use the corner. I want to keep it wispy and light on those ends. Set on a number 2 gives it a nice feathery, soft look. Has a little bit of movement to it. All right, now we're ready to do the top. I'm going to now, on this top, I want her to have some nice, fun, short layers. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to do a twist and cut. So what we're going to do on the top now is called twist and cut. I'm going to click the razor all-in-one blade back to all the way open so it cuts like a razor. I'm going to start in the center and I'm going to twist it. Twisting it, distance creates length, right? Hair straight up in the center is going to be slightly shorter than the hair all the way around the size of my box. I have about a 1-inch box, a 1-inch square box. Twist it. Using some tension to get through, but making sure that these ends have some texture and some movement. They will be symmetrical or even so that it aids in styling, but I want it to also have a lot of movement. Now I've just created my guide, so I'm going to take part of that box and move it over to the side. Pick this up and do the same thing. Where the hair starts to poke out, that's your guide. And it's called twist and cut. Take my next section. Twist it where you start to see the hair pop out. That's your guide. Take that hair off. Again, I gotta have pressure in there to be able to cut through it. But what you can see happens with the section I've already cut, you have varying lengths. And that's okay with the style. That's gonna help her hair to have some movement. So I'm gonna go ahead, take another horizontal subsection across the top. Again, just working in my 1-inch squares with a little bit of guide from the back section. Twist it where the hair starts to pop out and cut it. Come back to the center. Same thing, twist and cut. If I start to lose it all, pick it back up, take it off. My next section. I could even hold it like this, right? And just keep sliding it down until I get it cut off. As long as I maintain and keep tension on her hair. The difference versus using a straight razor is I'm not depleting the ends. Her ends still have some integrity. Okay, so now I've done that all through that little section in the crown area, and now we're going to detail the front and blend the two parts together. I'm going to adjust my blade. I want it to be more wispy and airy, so I'm going to go back to the 2. Versus going on the underneath side, I'm going to go on the top. And I'm going to marry the 2 together. Just going to take a nice forward diagonal subsection this time. And marry the sections together. So there's not a lot of disconnect between the top and the bottom. And if you see, there's just a little bit coming out. And she has nice movement in her hair. And she's already got some really great shape. It'll be simple, easy to blow dry because the tool's done most of the shaping work of the hair strand. If you guys can see how it's already started to cup under, it's going to make it really easy for her hair to style. So now I want to do the same thing on this left side. I'm going to take a forward diagonal subsection, working only with the hair in my section. I'm going to comb that hair nice and smooth. I just want to marry the top to the bottom, corner of the all-in-one blade, set on a number 2 for the feathering technique, blending the 2 together. Another forward diagonal. Why am I cutting on a forward diagonal? Because I want the hair to fall towards the front of the face. And you can see in my hand, point A, point B, and I want A and B to get together without removing necessarily all this length in here. I can also hold it this way, but sometimes what happens is everyone just wants to chop that off. I want it to blend, but I don't necessarily want to lose it all. Does that make sense? I can even hold it from the top and marry the 2 slightly together as I work my way down. Using the corner and a little bit of pressure, blending the two together. I want to make sure that everything blends. It's real important to me that when the hair comes back, that it blends together. So I'm going to comb this all back. I'm going to go ahead and put this all the way up. So it's completely closed now, because I want to do just a little bit of texturizing and detail work. Because it's like a little bit too heavy. So I'm going to pick this up, just using the corner like a pencil eraser, tap at it. Give it just a little bit more movement. Get a little bit of that bulk out. All right. Now if I want to finish up and finish my detail, I'm going to go back to my all-in-one blade, or to my standard blade, set at 0. That way I can crisp up my lines. Have you been your head out? I just want to merge these two together just a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to hold it. You guys see my corner? I'm just going to take that out. A little brush cutting technique to help it fall to the front. Okay. So you can see it's just going to flow and move really nicely. Alright, so we are done with our haircut. Objective number 1 was so that you understand how to use different tools in creating a design. Achieved? Yes. You understand that the all-in-one blade can texturize, it can feather, it can slither, and it can cut the hair like a razor, leaving the hair with more structure and cutting the hair ends more like a pencil tip versus carving it out and removing a lot of that strength. I'm thankful that you guys watched this haircut today. I hope you learned how to create a new A-line asymmetrical bob using a new tool, expanding your income, expanding your knowledge. And we're going to shut off the camera right now because I'm going to blow dry our hair and I don't want to have the dryer on, and then we'll come back with the finished look. So here we have our finished product using the CHROMSTYLE WAHL clipper. You can see she has some nice movement. We use it all in one blade to create some texture. We did some slithering, some feathering. She has something nice and easy to style, and all we did was use a round brush and a blow dryer to create this look. It didn't take any iron work to create that movement.